Human rights for the last 45 to 50 years have developed in such a way that they can be used for the protection of the environment. What we've seen over this period is a greater clarification, both at national, regional and international levels, as to what those environmental rights can actually achieve.
For a long time, the human rights track and the environmental track really proceeded almost completely separately from each other. What's happened in the last, I would say, 15 or 20 years or so is that increasingly these two fields have started to come together.
People are starting to realize that having a good environment is essential for our health, and that can be measured, and public policies should be drafted considering this scientific data.
There are about 193 UN recognized countries. More than 100 of them either expressly or implicitly recognize a right to a healthy environment, meaning that a right to a healthy environment is shared by more people and more countries than virtually any other socioeconomic right besides a right to life.
The Standards in Environmental Rights project began in 2015 here at Lincoln University. This was an attempt by a group of scholars to clarify or attempt to seek clarification as to precisely what specific human rights that are used for the protection of the environment mean in practice.
I was immediately attracted by this idea because he picked up on something really very important to try and map and track exactly how these rights are evolving, what their normative implications will be.
The book covers different areas and regions throughout the world, and it is important to give visibility to this new approach of establishing standards that are drawn out from the constitutions.
It became increasingly apparent that to explore these developments further, it was helpful to have a symposium which considered these interdisciplinary relationships.
And so really to ensure that the next generation doesn't suffer in the way that the current one has, we're raising awareness and we're seeking ways in which we can plot our way through the legal jungle.
So it's very helpful to have the interdisciplinary approach as here today and as in the book to kind of flesh out these substantive environmental standards.
And it's amazing to see that we now have this very rich conversation of scientists, policymakers, academics, from an academic legal perspective as well, thinking about how does the governance work, how do we solve this problem. So it's fascinating to see.
We were very fortunate to have Professor John Knox give a keynote talk as the former UN Special Rapporteur on human rights to the environment.
So simply being able to say we have a human right to a healthy environment has enormous rhetorical power that other ways of saying it just don't. Once you've said, yes, we recognize this right, then other things tend to follow along from that. By raising its visibility, by integrating other rights, by providing forums that may not otherwise exist, I think all those things are valuable themselves.
This was the first meeting of its kind about environmental rights and science and policy. 20 years from now, one could imagine environmental rights reflecting what began with conversations today about the role of science and technology and engineering, the recognition and realization of a right to a healthy environment.
The project has made an enormous contribution, and this is only the beginning. We really have something very, very significant here.